All right, I'm back with the bestie today. We are digging into the topic of overcoming the things we thought we couldn't and the things we had no choice but to overcome. Oh, so many rabbit holes, so many ways this conversation could go.
How long did you plan for the podcast today?
Oh yeah, this really could get deep here on all the many ways that this is such just like an ongoing true statement of life.
Yeah, for sure.
So what first comes to mind for you when I say that phrase?
I thought about this when you sent me that topic the other day, and I'm like, oh, I've done a lot of hard things. Uh, what could I say was like the first hard thing? And I think it would be having a baby at age 17. Like that was 10 out of 10. Don't recommend. That was really tough. That was really, really tough. Zero support from family. Did it on my own, and still managed to finish school and raise a baby. That was really hard. That was really
That's
hard.
that's like a lot of layers of the overcoming. It's not just even just one thing. I mean,
No,
that's the whole
it
encompassing
was,
of creating a human, bringing a
yeah,
human, raising a human, and then trying to be a human yourself through it all.
yeah, it was a baby. It was a baby raising a baby. And then two, it was, I had a lot to prove because, my dad was not on board with me carrying that pregnancy through. That was one of the first things that he told me is like, okay, so we're going to go get this taken care of. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm super naive. I'm like, gullible as can be. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I think it takes a little while, like we can't have it right now. And he's like, no, you're gonna go get an abortion. Oh, hard pass. No way. Absolutely not. Nope. I will, nope. I made my bed and I'll lie in it. I will take care of this baby and I will make sure that I take care of her the right way. And that was tough. I had a lot to prove. I had a lot to prove. Nobody thought that I could do it. At least nobody that told me so. Everybody told me that I couldn't. Didn't have a lot of people that were like, "You got this. You're okay." So I was like, "No, I'll show them. I will raise a functional human being that is not a psychopath. Um, that is a pretty wonderful person." And you know, Ashlyn's 24 years old now. She has her moments to where you know she's interesting. But I am so proud of her. She fights for what she believes in. She is a functioning member of society. She's a pediatric ER technician at a huge hospital. She really has a huge heart. She does so very much believe in taking care of others. And I had a little hand in that. I mean, everybody's going to be who they're going to be, but I think I like to think that I helped out with that. And
Absolutely, you helped out with that. And sometimes it takes people not believing in us to really step forward to show them what we are capable of and
oh,
what we are capable of
absolutely.
overcoming.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people like, okay, you tell me that I can't do something, I'm gonna do the hold my beer thing and watch me.
Mhm.
And I will show you what I will overcome.
It's tough,
Absolutely.
because that can really go one of two ways. And I think a lot of that depends on the person and their mindset. And the mindset, of course, is going to come from how they've been influenced in their life
Mhm.
from many different angles. It's either going to be hold my beer or you're right, I can't. And they're going to recoil back into
Oh,
themselves and just believe the bullshit that they're told. And you
mhm.
didn't. And that's awesome.
Yeah. No, I Ashlyn's amazing. She really is. She makes me very proud. And I mean, couldn't ask for a better adult kid.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Yeah, she is
Yeah,
pretty
she's pretty
cool.
great.
Shout out to
Mhm.
Ashlyn if you're listening. You should definitely be listening with your mom on here.
She
I can relate to
100%
the
thinks we're lame.
that's fine, whatever.
Whatever.
Well, we're still cool. She has no idea how cool we are, man. She's just,
One day
uninformed.
she'll look back, one day she'll look back and be like, damn, Mom and Sarah were the coolest.
Yeah,
But
right.
yeah, whatever.
I mean, the thing I'll say about the motherhood thing, overcoming the things you think you can't overcome. I mean, for me, absolutely like the labor and delivery part of it. I
That was
just,
so that was so rough for you.
I just had the most traumatic, and maybe not the most, but like it
It
was
was
a
pretty
very
freaking
traumatic,
horrible.
it was pretty
Yeah.
horrible. It was a traumatic experience, hence why I only have one child. But I
Right.
went into it with the mindset of, I mean, and super naive, obviously, because it didn't go this way, but going into it with the mindset of, look, I'm an endurance athlete. Okay. I know how to handle hard things. I know how to endure. I know how to like push through and grit my teeth and get there. What I hadn't considered was that I had no idea where that finish line was. And
No.
that is what just
Mm-mm.
completely fucked with my head in the trenches of that long ass labor that I
Yeah.
endured. And then to like feel like a failure, of course,
You
because
were
of
definitely
how
not a failure.
well, I'm
You
through it
still birthed a
now.
human.
I
You
know
still
I'm
birthed
through
a
it now.
human.
I'm past the emotional part of that now, but I mean that was real for me at the time, and that was that was just something that I, never dreamed would go that way. But I guess you just don't know until you know. But for me, it was um overcoming it because, well, there's no choice. This baby's coming out of your body one way or the
Absolutely.
other. So you're
Mhm.
going to overcome this pain and just this agony and the fear of it all, and even shame and failure that surrounded it for me in that moment, just because of just how I
He was trying
felt.
to come
But
out sideways,
yeah,
for Pete's sakes. I mean, that's not how that's not how that's meant to go. That's not how
but you
that's
know
meant to
what? I'm
go.
not the only one that thinks that, though, because interestingly enough, I just finished reading Tara Goucher's first book. If you don't know who she is, she's a professional runner, and she just put out a book called The Longest Race. And she too described exactly what I thought
Wow.
for labor as well. It's like, look, I'm a freaking professional runner. I
Mhm.
win marathons. I've been in the Olympics, and I can pretty sure I can get a child out of my body.
Right.
And well, that didn't really work out as she thought it would either. She has a
Mhm.
healthy son now too, but did not go the way she planned because she too just, I don't know if we kind of both had a similar mindset of that we know how to endure things, but also forgot that with labor, you have zero clue
Mm,
when that
mm-mm,
race ends.
mm-mm.
So I got through that because I had to. That was one of those you overcome it
Yeah.
because you have no choice
Mhm.
examples.
Yeah. You can't quit, like, midway and be like, "You know what?
Yeah,
Change my
yeah.
mind." No. I wanna go back home.
Well, what about for you? What the ones are, with your pregnancy and your other pregnancies, of course. I mean, you got through them because that was part of the process. You had to, right?
Yeah.
But what
Yeah.
about overcoming things that you didn't have to? Nobody was making you do it, but you did it because you wanted to overcome it.
Then I think the next thing would probably be, um, going to college.
Hmm.
Again, I was young, I had a baby, I do things on my own, and I never wanted I never wanted Ashlyn to look back and be like, "Well, I don't need to do it because you didn't do it. I don't have to do it because you're fine and you didn't go to college." But it was like, how the heck am I gonna afford to go to school? There's no way I can afford to go to school. I was working at a restaurant, for Pete's sakes, you know? But I was like, "You know what? Where there's a will, there's a way." And I'm sure I can apply for some kind of like assistant loan or something to get me through. So I researched schools. I found a school out in Chicago that I really liked, and I put in an application. And sure enough, I got a really wonderful Pell Grant that took care of a lot of my schooling. I had very little to pay afterwards, but it was still like a lot per month for me, with taking care of just one little person. And it was hard. It was 2 years. And I took the train into Chicago 4 days a week, rain, sleet, snow, and hail. And I finished, and I was really proud of myself. I was really very proud of myself.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, I don't think the schooling was difficult. I just think the making sure I got up and I didn't give up on myself was
That you
difficult,
followed
because there were,
through.
yeah, there were times where I was just exhausted. I I didn't want to get up that day and get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and take my daughter to one of my friends' houses or my mom's house or something and drop her off, and then drive to Gary at 5 a.m. and drop off my car and hop on a train and ride the train all the way out and walk, a whole bunch of blocks to my school. Just it was cold in the wintertime. I don't want to do that,
Mm.
but I knew that I had to.
Hmm.
So
Well, there's
that
something to
little
be
push.
said. Yeah, there's something to be said too about why or how we overcome those things when we don't want to. And I think a lot of it does come back to who we would be disappointing if we didn't. And usually it has to expand beyond ourselves, right?
Mhm.
At least
Mhm.
I feel like in most people's younger versions of themselves, like somebody else has to be holding them accountable in some way as to why they need to follow through or finish or
Oh,
achieve.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you aren't the only one counting on you.
Mhm. I'm terrible with, like, personal accountability. Like, if it's just me, I'm like, "Ah, fuck it. It doesn't really matter." It's
I think we all struggle with that though. I
Yeah.
mean,
But if somebody else is on the line, if somebody else is watching you,
mhm,
I mean, for me, that's huge. I remember, going home, and the way that I like to learn is to teach. So I would teach little, barely 2-year-old Ashlyn anatomy and physiology and
mhm.
kinesiology. And she was like the smartest little 2-year-old. She's still super smart, but yeah, she knew like almost all of the bones in the body. She knew the majority of the muscles in the body. She knew how the circulatory system worked. And it was really cute, like hearing words come out of her mouth that were just so big. And she was so just absolutely correct with things. My favorite story of her being little is we were on a kindergarten field trip to like a pumpkin patch or something. And this little kid was poking at her, and she told him to stop numerous times. And finally she goes, "And Dylan, keep your phalanges off of me." Like, like who said that? She was like 5,
Yeah.
you know?
But look at her now. She's in the healthcare field, you know?
Exactly.
So you
Yeah.
instilled something
Mhm.
early on with her that stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. She's always been fascinated with healthcare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? Those things too, like who you're disappointing, it comes back to me with running again, like that
Mhm.
mindset of running, because I can certainly remember some really uncomfortable races or tough courses or long courses
Mhm.
where, oh my God, like I was just in agony inside, in regards to how I felt, or
Yeah.
maybe I was struggling with an injury or just super fatigued. Like I can remember in my 50 miler, mile 30 or so, I was definitely getting tired. Towards mile 40, I'm like done with this. Like, I'm not doing this. This was stupid. Why would
It
anybody
is
do
stupid.
this? It wasn't stupid. I can't wait to do it
Ludicrous.
again. It's definitely going to happen again, but that's not the point. The point is I knew that I was not going to go home and tell my kid that I quit. For what?
No.
Because I was just tired and I was done and I didn't feel like it. So
Mhm.
it's like overcoming the mental struggle of finishing something like
Mhm.
that, thinking you can't do it
Yeah.
because somebody else is watching. And it kind
Yeah.
of sucks too, because that can circle back to, why do we care what other people think? We shouldn't be so worked up about other people's
It's
opinions.
specific, people.
It is.
It's
It is
very
specific
specific. It's
for
specific.
sure. For
Like
sure.
broad generalization, I don't care what people think of me or my actions or what. I don't care. You do you. But there are certain people that it really, really, really matters.
Yeah, I agree.
And
And his
yeah,
opinion
you're the same
matters for
way.
sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
But it took me a long time to get to that where I felt like I didn't care what everybody else thought too. I feel like I definitely grew away from that mindset as I've grown older, and it's
Hmm.
so freeing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It really is. And you just genuinely don't care.
Yeah.
It's nice. Hmm.
But even being in spaces too of just social situations, where maybe I felt like I wasn't on the same level as other people, or for some reason just felt out of place, or an imposter syndrome crept
Oh, I know
in.
yeah, you really, yeah, you hate that one. You struggle with that one.
I mean, over the years, I've gotten much better at not feeling intimidated in
Hmm.
situations where I felt like I didn't deserve to be.
Yeah.
But that too, like overcoming those types of feelings, first,
Hmm.
overcoming them, but then backing up a bit to try to even understand where they even came from in the first place. I'm actually
Hmm.
working on that.
Nice
Um,
job. That's awesome. Teach me.
yeah.
Teach me your way, mighty master.
Well, I don't know how to teach you because I mean, somebody's teaching me. I'm like officially working on it with, I told you that I think with Shailene with
Yeah.
RTT therapy. I've been
Yeah,
doing
that's
RTT therapy.
incredible.
For those of you guys that are listening that don't know what that is, it's a hypnotic therapy that has been fantastic
Hmm.
in
What is
just
it?
helping
Rapid
me.
transformational
Therapy. Yeah, rapid
therapy. Yeah.
transformational
Hmm.
therapy. And I'm really looking forward to exploring it more as I
Yeah.
start other sessions with her. But that type of work, that inner work, is, you know, helps you get through those limiting beliefs that make you feel intimidated for whatever reason, wherever
Hmm.
it comes from. So, I've been on that journey for a while now, but most recently with that type of therapy, it's really helped just solidify retraining my brain
Yeah.
to get rid of those negative thoughts.
Hmm. That's hard. And you call me out on that stuff all the time. I'll text you something like super, super negative, and you'll be like, absolutely not. Stop that right now. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, seriously, because, and I think we're all guilty of that. We get in our
Mhm.
own heads, and, we're worried about what we look like in our clothes, or what we failed to do that day, or how we fucked up as parents. And it's so
Yeah.
easy to get stuck in just that self-criticism. And you've got to have somebody to pull you out of it to say, that's not what we're doing. That's not
Mhm.
how we're going to respond to whatever it is that is making us feel less than.
No, no, we talked about that before too, how we would never talk to our friends or somebody we cared about the way we talk about ourselves.
What if I text you the things and said to you, what you say about yourself?
I'd be like, I don't know what I would say.
You'd be
I'd
like,
be like, oh man, she right.
no, you wouldn't. You'd be like, what a bitch. Like, I don't even, who the hell does she
What
think she
crawled
is?
up
I
your
can't believe
butt
she would even.
today?
Yeah, no, I mean, we talk so poorly of ourselves. Another thing that's a work in progress, right? Overcoming that type of shitty thinking towards ourselves. And if we talked to our friends the way we talk to ourselves, you would have none.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just something to consider,
Yeah.
when you're standing in front of yourself, whether it's physically looking back at yourself or just mentally looking at yourself, or put this scene in your head instead. Talk to yourself as if you are the little girl you once were.
Mm-hmm.
Envision you now standing in front of your 10-year-old self, your 16-year-old
Yeah.
old self, your 25-year-old self, and treat her with the same love, care, and respect that you deserve now, which is a lot, by
Hmm.
the way.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. And nurture
Yeah.
her in the same way that
Yeah.
she needed nurturing then and didn't get.
Hmm.
And that's how you respond to yourself now, in that same way, with that same respect and level of care.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That's perfectly said.
So
I
something
mean,
to
I'll
think about.
try.
Try every day. I want you to
Hmm.
try every day.
Hmm. What are some other hard things that you've overcome?
Um, I mean, one thing that definitely comes to mind is my first marriage.
Mm, I was thinking
And
about one of those too for me.
yeah,
You
so
were such a different person. I don't know. I don't know if we found each other back then, like would we have gelled, you know?
I don't know. I don't even know who that girl was back then. Marriage at that point in life, I recently had a conversation with somebody about this and why would you get married so young? Because I was very young when I got married. I was just 21.
Hmm.
And it was just the next thing that seemed to be on the list to check, the box to
Yeah.
check. And there wasn't a lot of there wasn't any input around me of adults or other people saying, are you sure? Like, is this really who it is? Or is this how you want your life to look? Is there something you want to do for you before you
Hmm.
commit your whole world to another person? And, whether those questions would have been met with aggressive responses from me or not, I don't know. But I would have liked to have had somebody ask me that.
Hmm.
But really, the hard thing wasn't stepping into a marriage, it was leaving the marriage,
Yeah.
knowing deep down, like, this is not at all like where I'm supposed to be. Like, I don't want to be in this space. This is not my person. And then once I found my brave to remove myself from that scene, trying to just know what to do next and
Hmm.
what I should be doing next. And that felt really hard because it felt very isolating and alone,
Yeah.
trying to sort of rediscover myself. But then I quickly learned that's something that's an ongoing thing in life, is rediscovering
Oh,
yourself. It's not like you're ever
yes.
gonna just like, oh, this is who I am. I found me and now I know what to do. I really feel like it's an ever evolving
Hmm.
thing and it
Yeah.
should be, because we're here to grow and to evolve and to learn. So you should to an
100%.
extent, yeah, you should to an extent
Hmm.
change as
Yeah.
you move through life. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know who that girl was way back then. I really don't. And
Yeah.
all I can say about that experience is that I learned from it. I don't regret the relationship. I wish we hadn't have taken the step to get married,
Hmm.
but it is what it is. There's no failures, it's just lessons. And
Yes.
I learned a lot from that.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But I certainly worried about the judgments of other people as that
Hmm.
failed.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
because it was destined to fail. And
Hmm.
I really concerned myself a lot with what other people thought about that. And it
Oh
really
yeah.
took me a long time to overcome that.
The I told you so's.
Yeah, I told you so's. And
Hmm.
just at that point in my life, I was at a different place spiritually and religiously.
Hmm.
And that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But I was very worried about what higher powers would um, hold me accountable for, I guess,
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
having broken my vow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what about you?
I marriage as well. I would definitely say marriage, and I don't have to name it because you know it. Um, but was in a very toxic, abusive relationship for many years, and I felt I felt all sorts of different things. I felt like, I really loved him. I really, really did. I mean, up until that point in my life, I loved him more than I had loved anybody else. Um, there there were definitely signs that I ignored, but again, not speaking kind to myself, I was like, well, I've already got baggage. I've got kids from a previous relationship, and like, if they're willing to take on my baggage, I should be willing to overlook some of the things that they do. That's not how that goes. Kids are not baggage. So I know that now. But I felt that way. I felt like I was being a burden to somebody else by bringing my previous children into a new relationship, into a marriage. And he drank so much and he was so mean and so hurtful with so many things that he said and did, and the way he acted, the way he treated me, the way he treated my previous children. I can never. We're working on being okay now. It's been enough time. It's been a lot of years. So we're working on something different, something better. It's an ever it's an ever changing ball of crap, but it's moving at least. But I can never forgive him truly for the things that he did to me, the things that he did to my kids. He was just so hateful for no reason. And when we had our first daughter together, it was rough. I experienced postpartum depression. I had never had that with my kids before. That was baby number 4. I should have been a pro by now. And to have depression, I had no idea what was going on. And I felt so alone and so isolated. I felt embarrassed to reach out because, like, well, my depression's not that bad. I'm not having like suicidal thoughts, and I don't want to hurt my baby. I just have this horrible lackluster for life. And I'm afraid for when my husband comes home because I don't know what mood he's going to be in or how he's going to respond. Um, it was horrible. And when I took a look at the situation, I have to stay. I don't want another failed marriage. That was the word that kept echoing in my head. It's like, you have to stick with something. Don't give up on this just because you're having a bad time. Don't give up on this person because they're having a bad time. They need help. And I made it my personal responsibility to try to help him. That you can't do that either. Can't help somebody that doesn't want help. And every day it was just, I could feel myself just snuffing out. I was losing every sense of who I was and who I thought I could be, and the strength that I once had, that drive that I once had, it was gone. And then I had baby number 2, and that was like, having a baby at 17 was like a whoa, whoops. But having a baby um, at that stage in my life was, I mean, that was earth shattering to me. I feel terrible looking back because I was so devastated. I was so devastated that I was pregnant. And I felt bad about that because there's so many women that can't get pregnant and have tried and tried and tried, or women that have lost, and that I felt guilty about that. But bringing another child into this wretched, wretched marriage was not something that I wanted to do. And I did it anyway. And I cried a lot. I cried a lot. I was very, very, very depressed. And again, the thing that I kept thinking was, I can't give up on this. I don't want another failed marriage. I don't want to be divorced again. I don't want people to look at me differently and look at, like, oh, wow, she's only, I don't know how old I was, like, what, 36, 37, and has 5 kids, and she's been divorced 477 times. I didn't want people to look at me and think that I'm a failure. And then I knew that it would be really difficult too, because yeah, not only was he difficult, but there is a large portion of his family that is very difficult as well. So I knew that leaving him would mean they would all gang up against me and pull my children away from me, tell my children things that were untrue, manipulate them and brainwash them. And that has been one of my biggest fears. And it still occurs all the time. His family is incredibly toxic. There's a few members that are absolutely wonderful. They're wonderful, wonderful souls. The girls grandmother and grandfather, they're just the greatest people ever. I just love them so much. And I'm so thankful for them. And I'm thankful that the girls have them. But it was rough there for a while. And when I made the decision that I couldn't live like this anymore, I couldn't let my children live like this. I couldn't let my daughters grow up and see that this is how a relationship should be. Like, it's okay to tolerate your abusive drunk husband. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Mm.
The thought of them bringing somebody like him home, oh my God, no way. I do not want them to think that was okay.
No.
So I had nothing. I had nothing when I left. I mean, I had wonderful people like you to tell me, like, no, you got this. You got this. You could do this. How can I help you? Let me help you. And I packed up as much stuff as I could fit in like 15 carloads and I freaking left. And it was the most exhilarating moment of my life. It was amazing to be away from that piece of crap. And I mean, I had no money, I had no credit. I technically didn't even have a car. And then within just less than 6 months, I started gaining those things. And then in a year, I gained more. And then I bought my house, like by myself, bought my house. And everything got better. All the hard work paid off. All the fears that I had of failing and not being good enough and people seeing me as just some divorced crybaby that couldn't stick it out. I did it. And it's been hard, but I truly feel that I'm better for it. My kids are better for it. And even him now, now that, again, there's much time removed, he's better for it. He can be a different kind of person and he could be with somebody that can support him the way he is, not the way that they want him to be. And I mean, that's all I ever wanted.
Mhm.
I just didn't want to do it by myself. Like, that
Yeah.
part sucks. But I would much rather have it that way than live another moment in that same situation. There's no way. I wouldn't have been
Yeah.
able to make it. I wouldn't be here right now, quite honestly. There would be no way. I was that depressed to where
I
it
believe you when
was
you say that. I believe
scary.
you. Yeah, I believe you when you say that you wouldn't be here right now because
Yeah.
that was a scary time in your life. And
Yeah.
it was really hard to watch and know that there wasn't much that somebody on the outside looking in could do about it, you know?
Yeah. And again, I was
Um,
embarrassed. So to
mhm.
like reach out and truly ask for help, I didn't know how. I had no
Yeah.
idea.
I wish we could remove the stigmas around that, in particularly postpartum, because
Yeah.
even, I mean, it's talked about a little bit more now, but it's
Way
still like,
more now. But
yeah, but women
yeah.
still feel like they shouldn't need help, that they should be able to handle more themselves,
Mhm.
that they don't need to feel supported. And that is just the opposite of what is true. And I mean,
Absolutely.
that's, another thing I can relate to as well as the postpartum. And that was a hurdle for me as well. And
Mhm.
to think that there, just to think that you should be embarrassed about it. And then to couple that with a dysfunctional abusive relationship, put that in the
Mhm.
mix of postpartum. I mean, I don't know. I'm just so thankful you overcame that, because
Yeah.
and made
Thanks.
decisions to get yourself out of there, because that was like incredibly brave. And worrying about what other people thought, is, that saying that the most weight you'll ever lose is carrying around the opinions of other people. Like,
And
when you
I
can
like that.
set that down, when
Uh-huh.
you can just set that down and even just kick it
Yeah.
to the side, oh my God, like the
Mhm.
weight off of your back, when
Yeah.
you just truly stop caring about that in order to help yourself and help your family and to live
Mhm.
your truth.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah.
And you're
It
doing it
is.
now.
I am. And I think that whole situation is what, like, was my springboard into not giving a shit what other people think. Like, I'm gonna take care of me and I'm gonna take care of mine. You do you, and you're not in my bubble. I don't care.
Mhm.
Like genuinely don't care about you. And I just kept my circle super tight and focused. But that's great. That was really great.
Yeah.
I did not feel the need to defend myself anymore. And if somebody wanted to think something bad about me, like, oh God, he was talking crap about me, like left and right, making up stories and things like that. And it's at first you want to be like, no, I didn't do that. That's not how that happened. That's not what went down. And then after a while, I'm like, no, it's fine. Let him tell his side of the story, quote unquote, and let people believe his side of the story. Because if they're gonna truly believe him over me, over watching me, they never cared. They never cared. If anybody cared about me during that time frame of my life, they would have saw how miserable and depressed and scared I was. And they would have reached out and said, "What can I do to help?
Mhm.
Are you okay? Do you need anything? Can I watch the baby while you take a nap?" You know, anything,
Mhm.
anything. And the people that believed him, they never mattered to me. I'm not going to defend myself to idiots.
No, those are not your
No,
people.
you believe whatever you want to believe. The people that know me, the people that love me, they know what's up. I don't have
Mhm.
to, I don't have to validate anything to the people that truly care. Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at
Mm-mm.
all. I can remember the exact moment when you told me about that second pregnancy with that
Yeah,
relationship and the fear in your eyes and just the uncertainty of what was going to happen and what you were
did you
going to
know I was going to
do.
tell you that when I asked you to like meet me? I'm like, I will drive wherever you are. Where are you?
I don't know. I knew it was something like unsettling and like, oh fuck, kind of like information. Um, I guess I wasn't shocked, but it was surprising, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It was yeesh. Yeah, yeesh.
But I mean, part of that overcoming too is the things that we are destined to experience and the things that are put in our path for us to endure are necessary. The overcoming is necessary in order for us to grow and become who we are now, because the
Yeah.
Monica that was part of that scene and part of that relationship had to go through that in order to appreciate what she wants now and to really and
Mhm.
truly know what she didn't want anymore.
Right. Right. Yeah,
You grew
absolutely.
so much. I mean, you changed so much from then and now, and just who you
Mhm.
are now after you left and started healing from that relationship
Yeah.
experience. I mean, it's like night and day
Mhm.
who you have evolved to. So it's like,
Yeah.
and not that I ever want anybody to have to go through something like that, but at the same time, um, you know, there's the notion of things like soul contracts,
Yeah.
which is a
Yeah.
rabbit hole too. That's not for
I
today
know,
because
it
I could go
totally
on.
is.
But
Yeah.
if you believe in a spiritual sense that you are part of the decision making in what you experience in this earthly world, like prior to getting here,
Yeah.
it's interesting to think that you actually may have signed up for that in order
I
to
think,
experience
yeah,
it and grow
I'm
from
pretty
it.
sure that's called, being a masochist, right? Because, man, take a look at my little speed bumps in life. There's just nothing but tragedy. It's so sad.
You've
Why
had a
did I pick
lot.
this? Why did I pick this?
Well, I don't want to say it's nothing but tragedy. Like that's an
Oh, no, that's
overstatement, I
true.
think,
No,
because
that
you
is.
you have
Yeah.
had a lot of good in your life too, but
I've had a lot of good.
you've definitely had your fair share of a lot of trauma and heartache and
Yeah.
unfortunate experiences.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows why anybody experiences the
No.
things that they do. But the good news is that every time something happens to somebody, something unfortunate, or even something hard that's rewarding and they overcome it, you
Mhm.
level up in who you
Yeah.
are, your vibration gets stronger so
Mhm.
that you're able to step into that next realm of things, you
Oh,
know?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, okay, cool. I'm now in this moment, I am ready for whatever's next. And if it's
Hmm.
something harder, if it's something more difficult, like, God dang it. But I got it. I have the mental capacity, the emotional capacity, and the understanding of how to get through it. Like, I feel like I have more skills. I feel like I have better tools in
Hmm.
order to get me through those things. Had I been through these things 15 years ago, oh my gosh, I don't know. There's no way.
Hmm.
But each time things are getting more difficult and more challenging, but I don't want to say it's easy to work through them. It's less difficult to navigate through them. Still challenging, but less challenging because I have the
Well,
right tools.
yeah. And I think as we get older too, we have the knowledge that we are going to get through the hard things. Like we are
Mhm.
going to overcome the things that we either don't want to and
Mhm.
we just have to, or the things that are we know that are going to make us better in some way,
Yeah.
so there's that like light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, of
Mhm.
knowing that it's not always going to be trying to climb the hill. There'll be a downslope at some point, and knowing
Yeah.
that now is, I think, comforting in some way.
Mhm. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I mean, one of the
Great
more recent
Metallica song. It's just a freight train coming your way. But no, it's really a light. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, for sure. And I think both of us, and we've had conversations in this space before about the recent grief you and I have both had to
Oh man.
overcome. And I don't know that you
Yeah.
ever overcome grief. I don't even
No.
think that's an appropriate
Mm-mm. No,
word,
that's not a
but
right word for it. Mm-mm.
no, but you learn to look at it from different angles
Yes.
that help you cope, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Just help you sit with it differently.
yeah, for sure. And look at it from different
Mhm.
angles. And
Yeah.
it's never, that's not ever something I don't think you overcome, but you are able to,
Mm-mm.
like you said, sit with it differently, or even see the good. I think we've talked about
Oh,
that a little
yeah.
bit in the past too. And, you know, I I would give just about anything to have my mom back in this
Yeah.
earthly world with me, if it meant that she was healthy and happy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have there have been things that have I don't want to get too deep into it in this space today, but I can see some good things that have evolved from
Yes.
her transition to the spiritual world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We'll have to save that conversation for a different time when
Different
I
time.
feel a little bit more equipped to speak on that. But
Mhm.
you know, you don't ever want to think that any good comes from losing somebody that you love, certainly not a parent
Mm-mm.
or, you know, anybody close to you in that regard. But if you don't look for those ways, if you don't seek out that view,
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get swallowed in it. You have to find the good. You got to see the good,
Yeah.
and then you got to be the good.
Mhm. Meaning in the madness.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
My dad was married to a really horrible, horrible person, and she just treated him like crap all the time. Her own family would ask my dad, like, "Why are you married to her?" Her own family. And he would always say, like, "Well, it's because I made an oath. I made an oath and I have to stick to my word." And he really was the epitome of a man of his word. Like, that was one of his most wonderful and horrible attributes, is that he really
Mm-hmm.
was a man of his word. And so he did. He made an oath to her to love and protect and honor her and stay with her until death do us part. And God was like, brother, I've given you multiple opportunities to get out of here. You're not going to listen, so I'm going to let you out of your contract till death do
Yeah.
you part. And like, let him free. That's the way I can see it now. Is that he let my dad free,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't have to stay married to her and be miserable and treated like crap. That's when my mom passed away. I just wanted my dad to find somebody that would treat him wonderful. He
Mhm.
deserved that. He's a very sweet and caring and giving man. He deserves to be treated really great. And then he met She Shrek, and that didn't was not what I wanted for him. It's the nicest thing
No.
I could say. That was the nicest thing I could say was She Shrek.
Well, that was
Um,
generous.
yeah, but I wanted him to have somebody that would love on him, and he didn't get that.
Mhm.
I mean, that's sad.
It's a lot to say about your dad and the content of his character, that he was such a deep man of his word. But I
Mhm.
also feel like that can be looked at as a way to overcome something too, if you are that person, because it's a limiting belief that you should have to endure things that you make mistakes on, or that you changed
Absolutely.
your mind on,
Mhm.
and that kind of goes back to the beginning of this conversation, or earlier in this conversation, where I talked about my own marriage dissolving, and just knowing that it wasn't the right space that I was supposed to live in and be
Yeah.
in forever. And knowing that it's okay to, I don't want to say take back your word, I don't mean it like that, but if your word wasn't what you thought it was, if you were signing up for something that didn't turn out to be what it is,
Mhm.
you thought you were signing up for something different and it's not that at
Yes.
all, then I
It's like a
think
trick.
it's worth a second look.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
worth reevaluating.
I didn't sign up to be married to an alcoholic. No way.
No. And you know
No.
what? I feel like if you're looking at vows and your word from a spiritual or religious standpoint, I don't know about you, but the higher power that I believe in, at this stage in my life, while I should be capable of working towards connecting with somebody and overcoming challenges in life, the
Mhm.
higher power does not want you to be miserable in this
Right.
existence, does not want you to be abused in this existence, does not want you
Mhm.
to be, neglected or disrespected, or any of the things that
Right.
would cause something to dissolve or cause you to take a second look at your word, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
I think that's worth saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and the like, in this situation of the marriage, like your marriage, your first marriage, um, if you had started feeling differently and he had started feeling differently, and if it was something that you two could work on collectively to grow together, that's a completely different, bag of apples.
Mhm.
People change. We talk about that. People change all the time, but it's how you change together is the key. So
Mhm.
had he been able to overcome his alcoholism, or at least work towards overcoming it, because I am not naive enough to believe that I understand what it's like to be an addict. I am not. So I know that it would be a struggle always. But if he was willing to make that leap, make that change, I would have stuck by his side to help him through that. But it's something that we could have done together and overcome, our hard as a couple, as a family. But when you have one person that is just driving a completely different direction, you have no choice but to get out of the car. You have
I
to.
agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you
Yeah.
100%. And overcoming that realization
Mhm.
that you are driving in completely different directions is tough. It's a
Yeah.
tough pill to swallow. And it's super brave to take your happiness into your own hands, essentially, and just tell yourself you don't deserve to live unhappy
Mhm.
for all your days. You just don't. So kudos to you, for
Kudos to
doing
you.
that hard thing.
Yeah. Kudos to you. Kudos to us.
And we'll keep overcoming, I mean, this overcoming of the things we don't want to do and the things that challenge us to level up, it's just going to be an ongoing thing. And thank goodness for that, because if you're not uncomfortable, you are stagnant in your life in a lot of ways. I feel like that uncomfortableness, whether it's challenging or whether it's some type of dysfunctional or hurt way, it's the universe telling you that this is not like the next thing is there. Like, you will continuously be made uncomfortable until you do something about it.
Right. Or problems will continue to show up in your life until you figure out like how to work through it and move past it.
The universe will keep
Same
putting it in front of
situations.
you. Exactly. They will keep putting it,
Yeah.
it will keep putting it in front of you.
Yeah.
And pay attention. I mean, pay the fuck attention.
Yeah.
Or just continue to be on the struggle bus every day of just trying to trudge through. And I think we're all guilty of that too. We all do that because we
At
don't
one point in
want,
time.
for
Or
sure.
even just a bad day.
Yeah. Right. We
Bad
just don't
day.
want to face the problem at hand. And I'm in the thick of that in some ways now. And you have been and maybe are now too. And I think it's all part of the process. That's necessary too.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree with that very much.
All right. Well, love. Well, it's been real fun.
It's been real nice.
It's been real and it's been fun. It's been both real fun conversation with you today.
That was super nerdy of you, by the way.
That's fine. That's fine.
I like it.
All right. I'm out. I'm all out of overcomings. I've exhausted the hard overcoming things. And that's all I got today. I need a nap.
Yeah. No, that's good.
All right, love. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon.
I hope you guys loved that episode as much as Monica and I did. Sometimes it's really hard to have conversations that feel difficult or make us uncomfortable. But when you intentionally put yourself in the company of somebody that you trust, it's easier to say the hard things and to talk through the things that often go unsaid. Get you a best friend that does that for you. Thanks, love. Thanks, Monica, for being out here and taking the time with me today. If you guys love this platform, if you love the conversations that are here, please share it. Please rate it. Please review it. The best thing that you can do is to tell other people about it and give us your feedback. That's how this platform continues to grow and how it continues to stay sustainable. So we would love it if you rated this episode, left that review, shared it with a friend, and also subscribe to the podcast as a whole. I appreciate you all so much. I love being able to be here and share these conversations with you, and I'll look forward to talking to you soon.